Back with another episode of Pottawattamie County Roots. Hi, I'm Todd Studer. Roaming around on the internet and on social media, I saw the city administrator in Treynor, Michael Holton, had posted that he was celebrating his 6-year anniversary on the job. And Michael's been doing great work there in Treynor. And so I gave him a call and I said, hey, how would you like to be on the show? Michael's always very gracious with his time, and he said, happy to do it. So that is going to be our guest today, Michael Holton, the city administrator of Treynor on Pottawattamie County Roots. We also want to welcome a new sponsor to the show. It is Advanced Southwest Iowa. And if you're looking to grow your business or bring new jobs and investments to Southwest Iowa, Advanced Southwest Iowa is the economic development organization for all of Pottawattamie County. Advance connects entrepreneurs, innovators, and established companies with resources, incentives, and strategic support to launch, expand, and thrive right here in our region. From site development to small business programs and community partnerships, Advance Southwest Iowa helps build a stronger local economy. Visit advancedsouthwestiowa.com to learn more and to get involved. Also, Primrose Retirement Community in Council Bluffs believes home should be a place of comfort, connection, and care. From personalized support to engaging daily activities, everything they do is designed to help residents live fully and confidently. At Primrose, that's their priority, to put the quality of their residents' care and daily needs at the top of their list each day and every day. It's not just about where you live, it's about how you live. Learn more at primroseretirement.com and then contact Jamie Bush at Primrose. Discover a place that truly puts people first. With us this morning, Mr. Michael Holton from the city of Treynor. All things going on inside of the community. He is the man to know. It knows everything, right? Yeah, after 6 years on the job, you pretty much have your finger on the pulse.
That's what they seem to say. Sometimes I think I know less than what I profess to, but on the other hand, as you mentioned, it's been 6 years, my anniversary date of coming to Iowa. I was actually a Nebraskan and came over and started on March 2nd of 2020. And as you remember, Todd, very clearly, I started on March 2nd. There was a whole plate of things to do in Treynor.
Mm-hmm.
And on March 8th, I shut down city government because of COVID.
Yep.
So it was a very interesting start to being a city administrator over here in Southwest Iowa.
Yeah, we look back at that time, and I can remember what I was doing and was kind of sequestered, and we were so panicked about things that I heard of somebody that had been in the hardware store 2 days before I was, and it was like a real panic about things back then. We didn't know anything, and that's why everything just had to shut down.
Yeah, it was an interesting time because of the unknown. But what I will say, in terms of kind of what we're doing right now and why we're talking, it was a learning curve on the people and how good people could be at the time. And I remember the Pottawattamie County Board of Supervisors, and during the time of the vaccinations and trying to get things organized, and even from the hand sanitizers, you remember we talk about how to keep clean, and some of those habits have gone on, and I think that's a good thing that came out of it. But at the time, we didn't know. And the Board of Supervisors in Pot County stepped up. And I thought, from all the times, and even the Department of Health, and they came together and brought all of us, because I was relatively new, but I can remember getting a phone call and say, it's your turn to come to the Mid-American Center, and you need to go through, and as a city official, and very kind, we met the supervisors at the door. They were actually greeting the people coming in to get the necessary shots. So hats off to just basically the entire region for all the things that they were doing to make sure that they stayed on top of it.
Well, and since that time, you have witnessed and been instrumental in some. Look, I think the growth that Treynor has seen in the population is pretty substantial. If you look at it from a percentage-wise, it is. These are real numbers that are showing a community on the rise.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing we talk about a lot is smart growth. And we've always wanted to be doing that of a certain nature of how we get that smart growth. And when we look at the numbers in 2020, it was just a little under 1,000. There was probably more like 950 people. And if we look at the numbers today, based upon some of the, and it's continuing to grow. But we're looking at right around 1,180 to 1,190. We're going to be right at the 1,200 mark. Then we talk about things like housing, and we get into the situations. Now, what do we do? Because we need to have places if we do choose to grow. So we have to look at the entire community, not only from the housing standpoint, which is very, very important. Todd, I know you talk to people all along about the housing, but we also have to look at the infrastructure that's in place to have the people be here. It may not be as glamorous, but the wastewater treatment, how are we going to take care of all of the water needs, all of the wastewater, the streets, and we've been having to address them each individually, one at a time, and so far so good.
You have been working on that housing issue, and this has actually been going on for a while. And a new development is well underway in Treynor. And when I have seen what the plans are and how this is all going to be laid out, it is it is designed for younger families. It is designed for families, obviously, with children and different things that they can do. And I see a lot of forward thinking with this development that is going in. And there's been the work seems to at times have been slow, but I think it was done on purpose because it needed to be. And now starting to get to where we're seeing that come to fruition.
Yeah, I think when you said slow was and methodical is the right word, and I know Vision Trainer Group was involved with that, and you've had those conversations, and I know Todd, you probably talked to. I don't want to regress here a little bit, but let's talk about you for a second. We were in a room full of 40, 50 people, and you actually said, how many people in this room have not been on the show? And I think there was one person in the room that had not actually talked to you, which is a testimonial on your ability to bring Southwest Iowa together. And we can talk about these things. But going back to looking at the housing development and the recreational development, we put in the first subdivision from like 2020 to 2024. That was called the Heartland Edition, and that was 29 new homes, and they're all bought and sold. I mean, they're ready. In fact, we've had a turnover in one of them already, so you can tell it's been in long enough. But this was a development when you look at subdivisions across the region, when you put them in, you expect, especially when you're dealing with tax incremental financing, you give yourself a window of anywhere from 10 to 15 years because you know it takes time. That first edition that was put in Treynor was up and going within 5. So this led to the second phase of the developments. Now we have 2 new subdivisions that are actually going to go on the market this spring, and the lots will be sold, and I'm sure it's going to go maybe not quite as fast, but we allowed for 15 years on this one. But I would say it'll probably be done in 5, 6, 7 years. We'll see that completely develop, and that's 36 homes. And one of the things we talk about is, so what does that do? What does that do for Treynor? Because there's a lot of people who can be afraid of growth, especially if it's too fast. And we've seen this. You and I have seen it in the area, especially across the river with our neighbors in Nebraska. If you grow too fast, infrastructure and other things have difficulty staying caught up. We watched Gretna go from a small, tiny, I call it moderate-sized town, I guess not tiny, but moderate. And Bennington is a fairly small community. Elkhorn, we watch them grow in leaps and bounds, maybe too fast. And they'll admit to that. And so what do you do when you're on this side of the river and you see those things? You try to grow a little differently, smarter, maybe a little slower, but you have to remember people are living here and they chose to live here because it is a smaller community where they have quality of life indexes that they can actually appreciate. And Treynor's one of them. People come here to have that quality of life, whether it be the schools. And I don't want to stop there because as we're talking about this in very timely, Treynor Schools is one of the top schools in the state of Iowa, have been for many years, and not only with their academics, but with their programs in general and their athletics, they've always been a strong competitor all the way across the region in just about every sport. And now we're right into basketball season where both the boys and girls, only the fifth time in Treynor school history, have actually made it to state together. So it's we're excited. It's an exciting time, to sit there. I told a couple people this the other day that stopped in that this is a great time to be from Treynor. Be proud of it. I mean, let's just keep the momentum going and work on that. So that's why we're working diligently, methodically, all those words we talked about, in putting in the two new subdivisions correctly.
I also know that when you talk about Treynor and the pride in Treynor and the growth in Treynor, you are extending that out to the other communities as well, because we're seeing growth in other places. We're seeing a revitalization of some towns that was storm damage. And I think that what I see happening around our part of the state should be an example for every part of the state as to this is how you move toward a future that is sustainable for the people. It's not, eventually populations age out. So it needs to be a constant influx of new people. And that is where that steady and stabilizing growth comes from.
Well, I think so, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things, and I don't ever want people, they can stop in my office anytime, just knock on the door, that I am a proponent of the region. I'm not a proponent of necessarily just Treynor. I am the city administrator of Treynor. This is my focus, this is my job, and this is what I do. But I also am the vice president of Western Iowa Development Association, in which Stacy Kinney does a remarkable job as the director of promoting and marketing the area. And yesterday, this is how current this is. The president of the organization is Kevin Zimmerman from Minden. So we had a meeting yesterday to talk about how do we work with the area communities, particularly in Pottawattamie County. How do we work with them to promote what we have, not only through WIDA, but now we're looking at a passport program, and those are becoming, I won't say more common, but they're fun. So if you have a passport program where you can go out and visit the Macedonias, the Neolas, the Avocas, and the Oaklands, and the Carsons, and the Treynors, and you can see what's going on, and maybe go to the McClellans that are a little bit out of the way, the Hancocks that are there. So those are the type of towns that we're trying to show. These are great places. It's not just in one area. They all have great areas that maybe you might want to come and consider living, raising your family, and the school districts all around us are all phenomenal. Riverside does a great job with their kids. Underwood is absolutely one of the stellar and the shining stars of the region. So it's hard to just say one particular one, even though there's a lot of pride in Treynor, and we will continue that there isn't pride elsewhere.
I think, too, that it's not about a competition. Because it's communities the size that we have around rural Pottawattamie County, they just kind of grow together, and everyone has its own unique identity. And when you go there, there's going to be a little bit of a different feel. Neola and Underwood are fairly close to each other, but they feel different when you're in those towns. And I'm not ranking them, but they do feel a little bit different. Treynor feels different when you're going through there. Part of it, I think, for Treynor is the proximity. It's just so close to the Council Bluffs and then into the Omaha area that there's a lot of folks that leave and come into the city to work every day. But maintaining those identities, I think, is key to that, so we can all grow together that way.
Oh, I think so. And you talk about the proximity. It's one of the reasons that 6 years ago, almost to the day, my wife and I came to Treynor, was looking at the beauty of the small town. And we love small towns. I'm a rural advocate. And anyone that knows me in the state of Iowa, as we get together tomorrow, actually, on Wednesday, March 4th, I'll be in Des Moines at a Legislative Leaders Day. So I'll meet with all our legislature and the legislators there and talk to them about issues. It's going to be rural issues. It's not going to be just Treynor issues, but it's going to be what do we need to help make it better for those rural communities. And in Iowa's case, you look at terms of, let's say there's 900 and some communities, there's 750 to 800 of them that are all below the population of 5,000. Those are a lot of communities all seeking independence, relevance, looking at a way to thrive, possibly grow. Not all of them want to grow, and that's okay, but they're looking at a way to be relevant because they do have an identity. They are proud of who they are, and it doesn't matter whether it's Corning, it doesn't matter whether it's McGregor, it doesn't matter whether it's Makokata. All of us have a pride in where we live and want to be able to tell that to other people the best we can. Tell our story, and we do that, and that's I'm going to go back once again. Todd, you help us tell our story.
No, thank you for that. It's a high compliment, and I appreciate that. And I'm trying to think if there's another community farther away from Treynor than McGregor, possibly Decorah.
Yeah, you're going to get up in Decorah.
McGregor's over there. That's a ways.
That corner of the world, yeah.
Beautiful country, though. Just gorgeous. I would highly recommend a visit to Pikes Peak State Park. That anybody that hasn't been, it is beautiful there. But we have the same kind of beauty here. You drive around up in extreme northeast Iowa and you look at the rolling hills, and then you come to our part of the world and you look at the Luss Hills that are here. It's different, but yet there's a little commonality there, I think, and it kind of just bookends the state.
You know, you talk about there's these polls that go out all the time about the beauty of the state of Iowa. And number one rank, and you talked about it, and if you get a chance to visit it, please do. Pikes Peak and get up in that area is wonderful and it's gorgeous. Guess what was number two? The Luss Hills.
Yeah.
And I thought that was in Mines of Spain, which is up in the Dubuque area, which is still up in that area so you got the Northeast. And I know the people of let's just go ahead and pick on everybody. We got Northwest Iowa, and you get up into the area of Spirit Lake, and you get up into that region. They're very proud of who they are, especially if you're going through Orange City, or if you're down by our way, you go through Pella. You got those Dutch communities. Mm-hmm. They show pride like no other. So those are the kind of towns that when I look to do my job, how do we make ourselves cleaner, better, friendlier, a nicer version of anything that we've had before. So that's always been my goal. How do we become a better Treynor? How do we look to see and be that type of town where others can say, hey, maybe we can do that. Maybe we should do that. So that's kind of the goal I've always had.
With your work with Western Iowa Development Association, obviously supporting the small businesses and organizations that we have around the area, any talk about in the city of Treynor about bringing more small businesses into town?
We always have that conversation. One of the things that makes Treynor a little bit different or unique, and I'm okay with that, is it's not even from how I plan in the zoning and the community development, we don't look at the industrial tracks like some of the towns that we have around here have industrial facilities, and they work quite well. They are part of the identity of who they are, not in Treynor. So we look to see how businesses, small businesses, can become part of the fabric. We had a couple of them this last year. I know you've been a part of it, but we were very excited to have Jarvis Quality Meat. Jarvis has done a wonderful job and become a member of the community, which is what you hope any business will do, is not just be there for themselves, but be there for everyone. And we have that with Tweets, which was a coffee shop pastry place that opened up and has become a member of the school district, a member of the city, the member of the local group that we call Trainers Tomorrow. They're very active. They work with farmers markets. So it's not just about who they are and what they do, but how they're helping everyone else around them. We have a new beauty shop going in where the Occasional Collective was, and that'll be a strong draw for a lot of people, a good clientele. They already she's been established for many, many years, but chose to open up in Treynor. So I think it'll be a good thing. And we do have a few other businesses that are probably going to look at what they can do here in the community.
You touched on something there again, Michael, that when a small business or a new business comes to a small town, job one has to be, what is that business doing for the community? What service are we providing? How are we integrating ourselves into the community? And then that is what the community wants to support. That's the correct order of it. If a business comes in and says, okay, how is the community going to support me? Typically, that's not going to work. And that's just small towns. And I think it's pretty universal in small towns, not just in Iowa.
Yeah, they don't last long. I mean, they have small business is so difficult anyway. Anybody that's been around putting a small business together knows that your margins are thin. You really have a tough time. You're growing. So, those first few years, you may not even see a profit line. So you got to be careful of alienating the very public or the very customer that you want to have come in. And I'm watching things, and I think in the 90s, in the early 2000s, it was a philosophy called economic gardening. And economic gardening is building from scratch and actually growing the seed and having your business thrive versus that of franchises or those that are just coming in on a large scale. That may or may not make it, or even if they are successful, that we know, you and I know, that there are large businesses who simply don't get the level of the margin they want. They may be successful, but they just choose to uproot and go elsewhere where it's even more successful. Well, we don't necessarily want that. That is very hard on communities. We're watching in Nebraska the Cabela's of the world, the Tyson plants of the world. They're all over. What happens to those communities that they are there and hire hundreds of people and then just pull out because the money just wasn't right?
Yeah, it's hard, and being a part of the community is job one. You have to do that, and it has to be genuine. It cannot you can't fake that. You can't just do all the right things without having the right purpose behind it and expect it to work. And that's true in Treynor. It's true in all the other communities, and I've done shows on that very topic, and it's a fairly universal thought. But not everybody gets it, and that's I can usually spot those a mile away, just like everybody in these small towns could spot that a mile away.
Well, one of the things we can talk about, and especially since we have this time together, and I appreciate this, it's got like a soapbox sometimes. The other thing that I think is important, and when I came into Southwest Iowa, I didn't know a lot of the resource organizations that were out there. So I've spent the last 6 years developing or putting together that relationship that you need to have. It's not just about WIDA. We know what they do, and they've done a wonderful job, and I'm glad to be a part of it. But it's also Advanced Southwest Iowa. It's Iowa West Foundation. It's looking at Pottawattamie County. We talked about how they were there when the need was there for the people to look to their county for some type of resource to get them through a hard time. But it's also looking at the private industries and companies that will help you succeed in developing those relationships. One of the key relationships was working together with TS Bank. TS Bank has just been a great community advocate, for as long as they've been around, and Mick and Judy Gutaw and have been promoting that for many, many, many years, and continuing on with their son Josh. But TS Bank is truly a community-minded bank that will actually support what's going on. They've done it with Vision Treynor Group. They're doing it with all the other communities they're with, Atlantic and Council Bluffs and Ames, and wherever they're at, they're successful.
And it makes the towns more successful too. Yeah, I interviewed Mick, and it was an honor to sit and talk to the man. And it was I wasn't expecting to feel what I felt as we were going through that. And I think the closest way that I can come to describe it is inspired. And he has that. And his business philosophy has always been support the communities that you're in. A percentage of the money that comes through here is going back into the communities. It's part of who they are. So yeah, TS Bank is definitely a community supporter, and we're thrilled to be able to have them. And I'm thrilled to partner with them any chance that I can with that. I'm also thrilled to partner with you, Michael. Anytime I have a chance to sit down and talk with you, it's always a great conversation, whether we're recording it or not. and although, you know, I'm always looking for content, so that I usually have a recorder somewhere stashed on my person. But it's been great to get to know you over these past few years. I didn't know you when you first took the job, but I've met you and we've gotten together at different events since then. So it's been my pleasure to be able to do that. And I appreciate all the support that you and WIDA and Treynor and everything else gives the projects that I work on and what we're working on here now with Local Stream Media. It's an honor for me to be able to work with you and folks like you.
Well, we need this relationship. It goes back to the relationship. And if we got a 1 minute here, I'll tell you my Mick Gutaw story so that everybody can hear this when they look at the podcast. And is January of 2020, I was being interviewed to come to Treynor, and he was in the interview committee, obviously just as a community member and as one of the leaders of the region. And I did my homework like we all do. I was doing research and saw who he was and who he is and his meaning and what TS Bank means to the community. So as we're in the interview process, Mick turns to me and says, "Glad to meet you." And I said, "Mick, it is very glad to meet you too, sir. And I've done a lot of research and I know a lot about you." He had a twinkle in his eye and he looked back at me and goes, "Mike, I've done my research on you too. I know a lot about you." And right then and there, I knew that it was going to be a good fit.
Yeah, that sounds just like it. He doesn't go into things blind. No, he does his research and he knows it. And again, thank you for everything. Grateful as always anytime we have a chance to sit down and talk. And I'm looking forward to seeing even more of the developments that are happening in Treynor. And congratulations on the 6 years. And let's go grab another 6.
That's what I'm thinking. And 2026 ought to be a good one for Treynor.
Another one of those towns around Pottawattamie County that Michael was talking about is the city of Walnut. And in Walnut, Frosting Inc. is your sweet destination for gourmet cupcakes, cookies, and artisan baked goods made with care and creativity. You know, they have been delighting customers with exceptional taste and hometown heart just by stepping inside their storefront. And you're also going to find small batch candles, homemade jams, local honey, and artisan snack mixes. Frosting Inc. It's more than a bakery. It's a celebration of quality and community. Here on Pottawattamie County Roots, we explore the places that make our region home and the people who keep them connected. That is why we are proud to feature Marnie Elkhorn Communications, your local communications provider, serving Marnie, Elkhorn, Walnut, Avoca, and other Southwest Iowa towns with high-speed fiber internet, reliable phone service, and TV options built for rural living. Real local support, unlimited data plans. You get speeds up to 1 gig to work, stream, and stay in touch with family and neighbors. Visit them online at metc.net. That's going to wrap up today's show. Again, thank you, Michael Holton, a city administrator and Treynor, for joining us today and for all the great information. And as always, Michael, thank you. And thank you very much for the compliments. You've been a good partner as we get more word out about what's happening here in Pottawattamie County. My name is Todd Studer, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.